We talk about mushroom clouds, right? But have you ever thought about a nuclear incident happening in the ocean? Like, totally underwater?
Yeah, it's a whole different kind of unsettling, isn't it? Like it's out of sight, out of mind, but with the power to really mess things up.
Totally. And that's what we're diving into today, these undersea nuclear mysteries.
We've got declassified reports, eyewitness accounts, even some mathematical detective work to get into.
It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure. So we're talking Cold War, right? Like, peak paranoia, everyone's on edge.
Yeah, exactly. And the ocean was like their own personal chessboard.
High stakes chess, though, with, the power to end the world.
No kidding. Both sides were building up their arsenals like crazy,
Hmm.
and submarines, well, they were like the ultimate weapon. Silent, deadly.
Invisible, practically. Which brings us to the Soviet submarine K-8, 1970. This thing was on patrol in the Atlantic when, boom, fire erupts.
Hundreds of feet underwater, fire spreading everywhere. Can you imagine?
And the threat of a nuclear meltdown on top of everything else, just terrifying.
Absolutely a nightmare scenario. The fire just spread so fast on K-8. 5 crew members, they gave their lives trying to stop it.
Heroes. Absolute heroes. But even then, the sub was too damaged.
And the Soviets, they tried to keep it quiet, of course.
Typical.
It took a Bulgarian fishing boat just stumbling across the whole scene for anyone to even know something had happened.
You're kidding. A fishing boat? That's wild.
It's almost comical, except, it involves a potential nuclear disaster. And of course, the Soviets, even then, they didn't tell the whole story. Downplayed the fire, never mentioned the 2 nuclear torpedoes still on board.
Wait, hold on. Those torpedoes are still down there.
Oh yeah, just sitting on the ocean floor,
Hmm?
over 4,000 meters down, off the coast of Spain.
That is seriously creepy. Like, what else is down there? And the K-129, that was even worse, right?
2 years earlier, the K-129 just vanished in the Pacific. The Soviets went all out searching for it. Destroyers, aircraft, the whole shebang.
Desperation, I bet.
Total desperation. They even used those underwater listening devices. Anything to find their missing sub. And little did they know, the U.S. was listening in on the whole thing.
No way. Were we spying on them?
Spying is a strong word. Let's just say we were very interested in what they were up to and what they were looking for. See, the K-129 wasn't just any sub. It was carrying a 3-megaton hydrogen bomb.
3 megatons. Okay, now that's just terrifying. How much damage are we talking about here? Put it in perspective for me.
Okay, so the Hiroshima bomb, the K-129's bomb, was over 200 times more powerful.
You're kidding me?
Nope. It was a doomsday device. And the thought of it falling into the wrong hands? Well, let's just say the Americans weren't about to let that happen.
So what did they do? Did they try to get it back? A bomb that big? You can't just leave it on the ocean floor, can you?
They tried. Oh, they definitely tried. They launched this crazy expensive salvage operation, poured $500 million into building a special ship. The Hughes Glomar Explorer.
The Hughes what now? What
Yeah.
was so special about it?
Think deep-sea mining vessel, but with a giant claw designed to grab the K-129 and pull it up. It was a massive undertaking, top secret, the whole 9 yards. Project Azorian, they called it.
Like something out of a James Bond movie, but real life.
And just as risky.
Mm.
Things didn't exactly go according to plan. During the recovery, the K-129 broke apart. Most of it, and whatever secrets it held, plunged back into the depths.
So close. So what about the Soviets? Did they ever find out about any of this?
Oh, they found out, but not until decades later, long after the Cold War had ended. Imagine their surprise.
Not to mention their anger.
It was a major diplomatic incident, let me tell you, the lengths they went to back then. But here's the thing. The U.S. had their own share of undersea nuclear close calls, too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And some would say they're even more unsettling because they involve a terrifying term, broken arrows.
Okay, broken arrows. Those 2 words don't exactly inspire confidence. Do tell more.
Yeah, not exactly a comforting phrase, is it? Basically a broken arrow. That's what they call any incident involving a U.S. nuclear weapon. Accidental, poses a risk of, well, detonation, or even just could lead to like a bigger conflict.
We almost blew ourselves up by accident, but with the potential to start World War III on top of that, I'm birding.
Oh, wait.
And the scary part is there were a lot more of these accidents than anyone would like to admit, especially during the Cold War, like that whole thing with the B-52 crash in Greenland in '68.
Greenland, okay. Fill me in on that one. What happened? So picture this. You've got a B-52 bomber loaded with 4 hydrogen bombs, just casually flying over Greenland, part of this program called Chrome Dome. Basically, the idea was to have these nukes in the air 24/7, ready to retaliate if the Soviets decided to, do something crazy.
Talk about living on edge. Always wondering if today's the day the world ends. It's hard to imagine living with that kind of tension all the time.
Exactly. And you wouldn't think something as simple as a little discomfort could escalate things. But that's exactly what happened.
Wait, what are you serious? What could a B-52 crew possibly complain about while flying a nuke-filled plane over Greenland?
Well, one of the guys, he was cold. His seat cushion wasn't doing a great job, keeping the chill away. So what does he do? Decides to warm it up using a heating duct.
You have got to be kidding me. A heating duct. Seriously, that's what caused this whole thing.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy falls asleep, cushion catches fire. Next thing you know, the whole cockpit's filled with smoke. They're over Greenland. No way to land safely. They had to bail out.
Leaving a pilotless, nuclear-armed B-52 to its own devices? Oh, man, that can't be good. What happened? Did it crash?
It did crash.
Yeah.
Thankfully not near anyone. But still, 3 of the 4 bombs they ruptured on impact scattered radioactive material all over the Greenland ice sheet.
Okay, but 3 out of 4 isn't all. So they found the 4th one, right? Please tell me they found the 4th one.
That's the thing. They never found it. The U.S. launched this huge search and cleanup effort, but that last bomb, gone, vanished.
So there's a hydrogen bomb just out there somewhere buried under the ice in Greenland. That is not reassuring.
The U.S. government insists it was destroyed in the crash. But a lot of people, including the Danish government, who, are responsible for Greenland, they think it's still down there, ticking away.
Okay, that's a lot to process. And if that wasn't enough to keep you awake at night, the U.S. had another B-52 incident just 2 years earlier, this time over the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, come on. What are the chances?
It's almost like they were determined to lose these things.
Yeah.
It really just goes to show you how dangerous these weapons are, how even with all the safety precautions in the world, things can still go wrong. This time, though, it wasn't a faulty heating duct. It was a mid-air collision.
A mid-air collision? How do you have a mid-air collision with a B-52? Those things are huge.
It happened during a refueling operation. Apparently, the B-52 clipped its tanker aircraft, caused a massive explosion. Amazingly, the pilot managed to regain some control, and he dropped all 4 hydrogen bombs clear of the crash zone before the plane went down. Talk about a close call.
That pilot deserves a medal or two, seriously. But what happened to the bombs? Where did they land?
2 of them landed on land in Spain. Thankfully, they didn't detonate, but still not exactly a picnic for the local wildlife, I'm sure. And then a 3rd bomb that was recovered from the ocean. Pretty shallow water, luckily.
Yeah.
But the 4th bomb, well, that's where the story gets really interesting.
Don't tell me. The 4th bomb went missing again.
It seems like vanishing hydrogen bombs were a bit of a theme during the Cold War. The U.S. military searched high and low, but that 4th bomb was never seen again.
Hold on a second. How do you even begin to look for a missing hydrogen bomb in the ocean? It's not like there's a giant metal detector for nukes or something. It seems impossible.
This is where things get really interesting. This is where a brilliant mathematician named John Craven enters the picture. He specialized in something called Bayesian search theory.
Bayesian search theory. Sounds complicated. Is that how they teach math in, like, spy school or something?
It's not as intimidating as it sounds. Actually, it's pretty intuitive. Think about it like this.
Yeah.
You lose your keys, right? You don't just start looking randomly around the house.
True. I usually check my pockets first, then maybe retrace my steps.
Exactly. You're using Bayesian thinking without even realizing it. You consider the most likely places based on your past experience. That's what Bayesian search theory does. It just uses math to formalize that process and apply it to bigger problems, like finding a missing nuke in the ocean.
Okay, so educated guesswork, but with algorithms.
Yeah.
Got it. So did it work? Did this Craven guy actually find that Mediterranean bomb?
Well, he definitely helped narrow down the search area. He took into account all sorts of factors, ocean currents, the weight of the bomb, the plane's trajectory, you name it.
Yeah.
But even with all that, the exact location remained elusive. It's still down there somewhere, as far as anyone knows.
That's both amazing and terrifying at the same time. So we've got all these broken arrows scattered around, some on land, some in the ocean. What happens to them? Do they just sit there indefinitely?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that has no easy answers. Even without a detonation, these incidents can have long-lasting consequences.
Like those whale suicides in the Falklands. Could those be connected to nuclear activity? It's disturbing to think that something we can't even see could be harming these animals and messing up the whole ecosystem.
It's definitely possible, but proving a direct link is incredibly difficult. The ocean is vast and deep, and these incidents often happen in remote, hard-to-monitor areas. We're still learning about the long-term effects of radiation on marine life, how these submerged weapons might be interacting with the environment. It's a bit of a guessing game.
Okay, now I'm really starting to freak out. It's like a ticking time bomb down there that we don't even know how to disarm.
It's a valid concern. And it's not just about the potential for environmental damage either. We have to remember that these weapons are still out there, vulnerable to accidents, theft, even terrorism.
So what can we do about it? It's not like we can just magic them away.
There's no easy solution,
Hmm.
unfortunately. Some advocate for retrieving and dismantling these lost weapons, which is a huge logistical challenge to say the least. Others argue that it's safer to leave them undisturbed, monitor them remotely, and hope for the best. It's a complex issue with no clear right answer.
So we're left with more questions than answers. It's kind of unsettling, don't you think?
It is. But it's also a reminder that the choices we made in the past continue to shape our present and our future. These incidents serve as a stark warning about the dangers of nuclear weapons and the importance of vigilance, responsibility, and international cooperation.
We need to learn from these mistakes so we don't repeat them. Well, this has been a fascinating and frankly terrifying deep dive. Thanks for joining me and for sharing your expertise. I think we all learned a lot today.
My pleasure. It's important to keep these stories alive to remind ourselves of the stakes involved.
Absolutely. And on that sobering note, until next time,